are you? What do you do? And what makes you you?
Well, just want to say thank you for having me on, Rusty. I'm Dan Pelly, inspirational speaker, suicide warrior. Um, I'm helping people choose life. I went public in 2016, and I had to muster up some courage. I've never been afraid to speak publicly. I've been in real estate a long time, but for, obviously with the shame and guilt, it's hard to admit that you try to take your life. And in 1996, I suffered with suicide ideation after a tough divorce, home loss, moving. I never recommend doing three big things with your life because it really can rock your world. But the suicide ideation built up, and to an attempt, and I was unsuccessful because I'm still here, and I'm lucky because what I did, I should have been gone. And I get into more details on my videos on YouTube about my attempts. I really don't like to get into too much detail because it can really trigger people, and anybody that's triggered shouldn't be listening to things that are triggering them. But anyway, I had the attempt. It took me a few years to get off meds and get back right. Never suffered with any clinical depression. Might have ran in my family a little bit, very little, but that doesn't matter. Your chemicals can change over traumatic things. So things got better, and I come back to Boston. I was in Florida for a little while. I know you're out of Florida, but I was with my brother. He was, very helpful to me, very supportive, and and I didn't get out of bed to go work with him. And he's like, I said, why? He says, because you got to keep moving. So I do a whole video about keep moving, in your life. So anyway, I got back. I did a little college psychology course, met a girl. I wrote a 32-page program on suicide awareness and prevention. I was going to go out and save the world. In 2000, never really kicked it off the ground, and got going. Stepkids, new business, new real estate, happy, new house, everything going good. Unfortunately, my stepdaughter got in an accident in 2007 at 16. Been raising her since she was 7. Took a traumatic brain injury, had to operate. Never saw her mother suffer like I saw her mother suffer. And we were all suffering. And got her back on her feet. She won't have the future she wanted. She wanted to be the president, she said, when she was little, and then a lawyer. But I told her, you're a good arguer. I said, you'll do well as a lawyer. So, but she's got a different mission. We've spoken with the Brain Injury Association, Mothers Against Drug Driving. I kind of moved her along into other things to give her another mission. But after she got back on her feet, I felt like I wasn't doing what I should be doing. And I was really deflated in my spiritual being and who I was. And I finally, mustered up the courage in 2016. I made my first video, and I look back at that and say, boy, you need to polish that up a little bit. It takes a little time when you're doing videos and Zoom and other things and all that. So anyway, it started building up, and a couple hundred followers, a couple thousand here and there in a few years. I've now built up on my public page about 80,000 followers, and I have a public page on Facebook. Everything's under Dan Pelly. I'm on all the sites. I got, I think, about 1.5 million followers on Pinterest. And, I quote every day. I do a lot of quotes. I don't do a lot of live stuff all the time, but I do videos, feel they're appropriate. I just did about creating value. My Never Give Up video I did last year. We're approaching about 410,000 views. So I look at it this way now because I'm really rolling, and I'm doing my posting and speaking and go to events. And, my main thing is because I'm a practicing Buddhist now for the past 12 years, and it really helped my life spiritually. And I know your show's a lot about spirituality, and it really changed everything for me on the practical day-to-day chanting. We chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, the SGI. Tina Turner chants it, and it helped her over the Ike situation, and now she just got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So a lot of big victories for her in her life, and the chanting has been very beneficial to her. So Nam Myoho Renge Kyo is powerful, and the SGI has been a great organization to me. So I built it up, and the Buddhism, it really reflects in my speaking, and when I'm doing videos about standalone spirit, creating value, living in the present moment, the practicalities we have to deal with, because in Buddhism, we're not the type of Buddhists that we go in the mountain and we, we just have our bowls and everything and our bald heads. It's not that way. We engage in life every day. We're always engaging, and we're always trying to help people overcome their suffering. And just Buddhists in general do that, to become happy, because we were born to be happy. You would never know it in the world sometimes the way things are, but we were born to be happy.
I
And
think
I'm
that
always encouraging people.
I think that we've developed a society, I too am Buddhist, um,
You
we've
are.
developed a society that is inflicting intentional pain. And I mean that in a very tough love kind of way.
Mm.
Um,
I agree.
everywhere we turn, everywhere we look, and if anybody's ever listened to this show or watched the YouTube videos, I say pretty much the same thing every single time. That's why I let you guys talk more than me. But the radio, even at the car, like when you go to get gas at the gas station, they blare negativity. You have turkey neck, or you have wrinkles, or you shouldn't be wearing boy pants at 45. Just stupid, arbitrary way to pick on somebody. And if we look at the last 4 to 5 years, people actually hunger for this behavior. They hunger for this negativity, to the point where we have a group of individuals called trolls. And I'm sure you know who they are, because I'm sure they pick on you too. You and I are in this business of love and inspiration and motivation and unconditional hugs. And here these people are being mean. And you just kind of go, where did that even come from? Like, do you need to sit down and talk? Do you want me to consult with you? And it's a very bizarre dichotomy that we're living in right now, because we have you and I who promote and love unconditionally. And then we have this subgroup of individuals who are just feeding the flames of negativity and fear. And I think it's more egregious for you in the line of work that you do, because those individuals intentionally trigger other people. And if you have a prolonged depression, that doesn't help you get out of it. So with all of the individuals that are associated with you on all of your social media platforms, which is kind of a scary thing nowadays, believe me, how do you combat those comments and that nastiness that is going to happen, because they just feed off of it, to kind of thwart the people who need your message? I don't want them to hear that negativity. So for the most part, I stopped doing comments at all. I turned it off. It's like, that's not what we're here for. Exactly. Unless it's productive, right?
Right. Well, to address that, I had trouble at the beginning, because I can engage, and I can be, really combative with people about why people get depressed or what's happening. But what I learned about depression, and a lot of people are very ignorant to it and they don't understand. So when I saw hateful comments, like I was following another gentleman that tried to commit suicide, and he jumped from a bridge, and, someone said, well, you should jump again, and it's just, all these mean comments I saw he was getting. So I started getting them too. And, I started going back at people, and it just takes too much of your energy. It just really does. I mean, I might comment very rarely if someone says something about, hey, I don't want to live. I might say something, it's not too negative, but I might answer certain people. But people that are really suffering, that want me to answer them, I'll private message them, and things will happen. So I have to leave the comments open, because I know people are suffering, and late at night they're reaching out or something for somebody. Because I figure what I'm doing, if I can say one word or one sentence, that changes someone's mind and puts a wedge in that thought, which I didn't have in '96. I didn't have social media. I didn't have inspirational speakers or encouragers. Just wasn't there. I was running around to all the priests asking them to pray for me, and pray and pray, and prayer wasn't working in that sense for me. And I was just left alone with my suffering. And even though I had a loving family around me, I was left alone. But when the comments were coming in, I just stopped answering negativity. We have good and bad in the world. We have good and evil. We have devilish functions. As a Buddhist, we believe in that energy. Maybe not deities, but we believe, the Buddhist gods and the 33 gods of energy. and all that. But when I see this devilish function rear its ugly head, which it did on me, even though I started practicing in '09 and I just I was suffering. And the first time I heard Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, it's like a meditation to me when I'm doing the mantra. And I got the scroll of the Gohans and Nisha and Daishon and the SGI and all the support. And when when I'm fighting it and I'm fighting negativity, you get the good and bad coming at you. I've cried in front of the Gohanza. I've suffered in front of it for weeks. I've been happy in front of it for many weeks. So it's your treasure tower. It's bouncing back. It's coming back at you with your mirror. So I finally let go after a few years in that when I see the nastiness, I just ignore it. I don't respond to them anymore.
I think it's interesting because most of the time when you're dealing with underlying depression, you become kind of scrappy. I call it scrappy, but it's really a response to trauma. So you're trying to protect yourself from being hurt even more by speaking up and roar. And I know for me personally, I've been a scrappy person my whole life. Like I'll beat anybody's ass. I
would have never known.
Yeah, very scrappy.
Like me, I'm scrappy.
And it's a nice way of saying, I've been severely traumatized, so I feel like I have to protect myself at every sentence, which, that's the psychological stuff that people don't want to hear. But I think it's interesting when you're dealing with suicide ideation, which for those of you who don't know, that's somebody who has a lot of imagery and a lot of fantasy around suicide and how they're going to end their time. Not something that's recommended.
Feels like an escape for them.
Right. It's just another mental escape from whatever's hurting you. And so, like all fantasies, right?
And when I was in it, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was there when I was chanting, and I was chanting in '08 when I started in August of '08. I didn't receive the Gohans. I'm very analytic. I wanted to know about the practice more. So when I started chanting, I was suffering. I couldn't even speak like this. I was just in a dark room. I was chanting to a spot on the wall, focused. And then come '09, after about 6 months, I was estranged from my biological son for quite some time, 6, 7 years or so. And I kept chanting for him to come back into my life. And it was a powerful chant. And they said, don't try to chant for everything, Dan. You're a new member. It's tough to chant for a lot of things at once. Now I'll chant for you. I'll chant for your good health, your protection. I'll chant for many people in the world. And I can really roll with the chanting and think of it as I'm chanting. But then I could only think about my suffering. So I chanted for him, and he gave me an email in January after 6 months, and it was like, Dad, I'm sorry the way I spoke to you, and I love you. You're my father, and I want to see you. And I start crying, and my wife comes down. What's the matter? What's the matter? I'm like, the practice works. So this is after 6 months, and didn't get my the Gohans in, and it wasn't receiving it. So then come May 3rd was a significant day in the SGI where President Keita, now 94, blazed the trail with 12 million people are chanting now in 192 countries. So, President Keita is my living mentor. Besides Shakyamuni Buddha, which is Satana Gautama, it's really Shakyamuni Buddha. He wasn't a fat belly Buddha, he was a handsome prince. So all these things that I learned about in the Nisha and Daishona brought back the original teachings of the Lotus Sutra. And that's just what we practice. So, but when he, when I was chanting, I'm like, okay, I'll get my Gohans. And so May 3rd of '09, I got it. And I got all these benefits, everything was going good. And all of a sudden, the depression took over again. I got clinical. So I got on meds. I got on like 5 meds. In 2010, I looked at my Buddhist members. I'm like, hey, this practice is not working. It's like, no, Dan, don't give up. This is the devilish functions. Doesn't want you to do what you're going to do someday. And
exactly
I never knew where I was going to go with this in 16. So they're like, just keep chanting. I mean, I was on the 5th floor because I made the attempt in 10, wasn't as bad as 96. And I just looked at my wife when she walked in, and I knew to say this to her. And this is what I want to relate to people. I need help. I'm weak, I'm suffering, and I need help. Although I got the help, they let me out too soon, and it wasn't gelling. So it happened. Felt ashamed. Felt mortified again. Stayed in bed almost a whole year. It was just not me, right? It's not who I am spiritually in my heart. And finally said, I got to do something. And, my wife was pulling me out of bed to even watch and eat. I couldn't do anything. So I made a short list. You're going to get up, you're going to shower, you're going to eat, watch a little TV, go back to bed. And that kept going on, just this little short list to get me going. Went to a recovery program for 5 months. People worse than me. I started climbing 8 to 10 flights of steps. I said, I got to push myself. I felt so weak physically. I couldn't even move. In this recovery program, now I'm practicing and I'm shakabukuing other people to get into the practice and say, this practice is working for me while I'm in recovery. And I'm passing out cards and I'm chanting and I'm doing my thing and I'm starting to feel better in 10. I made a determination, which there's a quote about determination that changed my whole life. And I was on 5 meds. I made a determination by December of 11, I would be off all meds. And slowly worked with my doctor, which I recommend therapists. I didn't find the right one till after 4 times or so, and a psychologist. Got off the meds slowly. By December 11, chanting, I was med free. Never got back on again. Luckily, some people need it, some don't. So I never got back on the meds again. By October of 12, they asked me to give the experience I'm giving you about my attempts, my stepdaughter, where I am now. And I went to Florida, in Western Florida, the SGI, the Florida Nature Culture Center. And they asked me to give my experience, and I gave it in front of 150 men in 2012. And that's when I knew. I had about 40 guys come up to me. It's a men's conference. They really, really moved me, Dan. This was some story, and my son killed himself, and all these things started happening, and I found my mission. I found my mission.
Well, and I think it's really powerful because most men don't stand up in their own stuff. Guys are taught don't cry.
Oh.
Shut up, button it up, stand up straight, do your job, you're a man.
Yeah,
and that's very hard to unprogram. On top of clinical depression, trying to reprogram your brain to find the peace within yourself. On top of, your daughter's accident and your son's estrangement. So, wow, good for you for standing up and doing something that's inspiring other people to be better versions of themselves.
Thank you. And I grew up Italian. I'm all Italian. My father's Italian.
You can definitely tell.
But tough. My dad, tough, right? Good, loving father inside. Never was the AT&T guy that would grab you and go, "I love you, son." He just never did that for me, and I always missed out. It was probably some of my trauma. But although I knew he loved me in his heart, and when he died in 2004, I lost an older brother a month later at 53 years old. Very traumatic in a month. And that was 2004, then Justine in 2007. So I've had my challenges. Not saying I'm anything special with challenges. I mean, people get a lot of suffering. We understand in Buddhism, this is the Saha world. It's an evil world, and we suffer. But we're here as bodhisattvas that emerged, and we're trying to help people go the other way, like you say, on the internet, especially on Tumblr. When you go on Tumblr, I don't have many followers there, but it's so negative.
I did it for maybe a split second, and I was like, delete. Sorry.
And the reason why I stay on it, I went to a senior leader, and I said to him, "Steve, the kids today, it's just so dark, and it's so big." And he goes, "Dan, stay with it. There's that one person might be on there that you pick up on that's suffering." And I've picked up on some young teenagers now that have come into the situation with me and said, "Can you help me?" So I'm glad I stayed on, because it's all about just helping that one person in front of you. And now I'm on, 9, 10 social sites under Dan Pelly. But, I stopped thinking about the likes, and even though I'm getting a lot of positivity and, hundreds and thousands of views, I just stopped thinking about all that now, and I just keep rolling every day with my quotes. It's like you can't pay too much attention. I've learned from other encouragers and inspirational speakers, motivational speakers. I'm not like a motivational speaker like Tony Robbins. I'm an inspirational speaker. I like him. He motivates you. But when you're suffering, you don't want to listen to him, because he's trying to, it's just different. There's something about it.
Yeah, a different approach.
A different approach. And, inspirational speakers like a Trent Shelton, something like that. He's very godly. He's very inspiring in a lot of ways. He's very pointed. But for me, you got to be you, right? You have to be you. I have to be me. You got to be me, right? So, and it's like, you know, I become more comfortable as I keep doing it now, 4 years, going on 5, and just keep pushing. And you know, I'm gonna be writing a book about suicide and my life. I grew up, you know, semi-poor in Allston, Mass, outside of Boston. You can tell my Boston accent. I was on the other side of the river of Harvard Stadium, you know, park your car in Harvard Yard. So, but I was on the other side of the river, on the poor side of town. So I used to, you I used to go into the Coliseum in Harvard and watch the Patriots. Me and my friends would climb up the vines and sneak into the openings of the Coliseum, and we'd watch the Patriots play. So, you know, growing up as a kid, it was good and bad. You know, we didn't have a lot of money. But I grew up being a mechanic, a truck driver, and now real estate for many years now, over 25 years. And here I am now, and I want to finish off my life with this mission of helping people choose life. You know, I've just come to terms with it. Hopefully, be able to do it full time someday. But you know, we got to eat too, right? So if you're not making it in every way you can, you got to keep eating.
No
So
matter
I
how
do that.
altruistic I can be, the bills still keep popping into my mailbox. You know, come on, people. FPL, leave me alone.
You know, you like spiritually, you think hopefully something drops in that mailbox for you to give you a little push. But you know, when we make contributions, like May contribution came up for the SGI, and we chant about, you know, it's got to come from your heart when you give an offering, and we help with centers and people, and it's just a great organization. And you know, and I chanted, and I doubled my contribution from last year. And it's not because I'm looking for something in return, because I know it's going to help with the pandemic and everything that's going on, which has been a lot of isolation. I've had a lot of people come at me with this isolation and tell them, look, you really now have to have a standalone spirit. And you
Yeah.
have to be okay in your own space, whether you're meditating or whatever you're doing. You've got to be okay in your own space. And the big thing I tell people, what would help me besides therapists, psychology, and meds, what really helped me, besides, you know, the Buddhist practice about lion-like, courage and all that, I said, I had a little left, very little left, hope and courage. And I went with it. I just mustered it up. I said, you got to just have that much to win over. And when you have that little bit, it turns into, now the devilish functions, you know, usually stay, you know, they're not around me a whole lot. They affect other people in my family. I know they're doing that. Not like I'm free of suffering. Like President Cater, the devilish functions don't mess with him too much. You know, he's been chanting for over 90, 80 years, you know.
So Dan, unfortunately, our hourglass has run out of sand, as that happens, and the value that you've brought to my guests is phenomenal, and I appreciate you and respect you for what you do. We could go on and on and on for hours about this topic, and as you know, your show will air at a very pivotal time period for people who are struggling with holidays, struggling with the Rona, struggling with the political divisiveness and weirdness that's been going on. And exactly, nope, not today with your shirt.
Not any day.
I feel you. That Satan, not today. Hell no. Satan doesn't want me in hell because he keeps locking the doors, and God doesn't want me either because he keeps throwing me back. So I got a job to do, and I got 135 of you total to do and complete, and I'm so excited. Well, you have your message, and I have mine too, and mine is that there are beautiful people on this planet, and you happen to be one of them. So give us your contact information, and we gotta go.
I will. I'm gonna do a prayer for you and all your listeners and people in the world. But I'm Dan Pelly, suicide warrior, inspirational speaker. You can find me on all the social sites under Dan Pelly, my public page, and see a lot of good quotes about how I'm functioning every day and what I'm doing. But I want to leave this prayer for you and your listeners and for people in the world. It's my Buddhist prayer that I've come up with, and I end with my chanting morning and night with it, or during the day when I'm chanting. Namyo Renge Kyo, for your good health, your protection, your wisdom. Sorry, when I say it, I forget it sometimes. For your good health, your protection, your wisdom, your compassion, your courage, your determination, your mission, your family, good fortune, and total victory.
Amen, brother. Amen.
Thank you.
Amen. Dan, it was a pleasure to have you on. Thank you for your patience today. I know that when, technology can be a pain and
I know. Go
coordination
through it.
and time, and it's like having a whole
It
bunch
was
of drunk
wonderful.
toddlers.
Yeah, let's do it again.
All right. Thanks, Dan.
All right, have a winning day. Bye-bye.
You too, honey. You're watching Living and Thriving with Rusty. I'm Rusty, and this is why I do what I do. What an inspiring story. What a man who really had some chutzpah, as they say in Yiddish, some real desire to make his life what it is. And it was not easy. Life is not necessarily easy. Anybody sells you that soup, don't drink it. It's roofied. I'm telling you, don't drink the soup. Know that you're going to have trials and tribulations, and know that one foot in front of the other is huge. And as I say on every show, you're beautiful and I love you. I don't even know you, but I can guarantee I'll hug you. Secondly, do something kind for somebody else. It does not hurt you or cost you a whole nose, arm, or kidney to buy a surprise cup of coffee for the person behind you in line. It don't change anything for you other than gives you an opportunity to change the direction of somebody else's mind. Meaning, if they're sad, if they're depressed, and somebody buys them a cup of coffee, they light up. They light up because for that instant, that moment, that $1.89 in most places, Starbucks, forget about it, is going to give them just a glimmer of kindness, a glimmer of joy, a glimmer of hope. And you can change people's trajectory. You can change your own life. Reprogramming, chanting, running, bodybuilding, however you want to do it, you can do it. You just have to take the minute to choose to do it, and then the step forward and the next step forward. It's not rocket science, and sometimes it's hard as hell. Dan could probably even tell you how hard those steps were. Go check him out. His links are below. Know that I love you. Know that you're beautiful, and do something kind today.